Snow White has been effectively, I think, the pinnacle of DEI nonsense. And Disney perhaps is starting to realize that a little bit too late. They have just announced that they are canceling Snow White's cousin, Rapunzel. They were going to do this whole remake of Tangled, which is based on the Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair story. So they were going to do this live action remake, and they just announced, well, technically they're saying they're putting it on the pause button, but I think it's kind of canceled. You know why? Because finally, maybe leadership is realizing over at Disney that you can't just keep recycling all these old shows and then just wokeify them, right? Okay, we're going to put a Colombian actress in as Snow White, and we think it's suddenly going to be better. And we're going to not have dwarves because maybe we're going to offend the dwarves. Well, believe me, you really did offend the dwarves by not having any. Disney's Snow White is now on pace to lose $115 million, you guys, all right? So this is a disaster. It made like $43 million at the box office here in the US, and then it made like 100 and something overseas. But the reality is, when it's all said and done, it's coming up short, 115 million. And by the way, this includes the merch, okay? So all the merchandise and everything. These are projections from Disney reported there in the New York Post. So I think they're like, oh, okay, maybe we just need to think about this a little bit more. Maybe we don't want to just have another sequel and hope for the best and wokeify it in some way, because just look at what we lost on none other than Rachel Zegler. I mean, she's a special brute in and of herself, is she not, right? And that actually probably contributed to some of this loss. I would also just say that the film was bad. Like, it was bad, all right? I have a pretty high tolerance for a lot of stuff. And, I like musicals, but this was bad. I mean, the music was bad. The actors were bad. The script was bad. And I just found out that Greta Gerwig actually wrote part of this. This is the woman that wrote Barbie, and she wrote, a few other woke things along the way. And it's like, oh, of course. Well, she's just really not that good at her job. She didn't get a title credit. They gave it to somebody else, which, if I'm Greta, I'm like, phew, thank God. I really don't want my name on that thing. It was awful. Okay. And the director is probably pretty sad. He's got his son out tweeting that it's all Rachel's fault. It's partly her fault, but it's also the fault of the institution that chose to do this woke remake and focus too much on the formula instead of the passion for creation. And I think that's what Disney has really, really lost. They're also up against it, of course. As you know, we've reported here recently, the FCC announced an investigation into DEI discrimination that is happening there at Disney. You go back to New York and you see Letitia saying, we can have all the DEI we want. No, it's actually not legal, right? It's not legal. It's a form of discrimination. That's all it is. And constitutionally, it's not legal. She's not a very good lawyer. I don't think she went to very good schools. Anyway, Brennan Carter making the point over and over again here. I've talked to you guys about this, about inclusion standards across ABC actually being illegal, because you can have, inclusion standards that say we have 50% of regular and recurring characters that have to be drawn from underrepresented groups. Well, they may have, and I think, in fact, they did this. They forced certain racial and identity quotas into every level of production, which I hate to say it, but if that's how you're hiring people, you're going to wind up with things like this, which is why shareholders ought to sue them too. I mean, the investigation by the FCC is all fine, but I wouldn't be very happy as a shareholder in Disney. And so I think they're coming back to reality here, and they're like, okay, we're getting rid of our DEI programs. We had 2 of them, and we're getting rid of Rapunzel. That's not going to happen, or at least we're going to put it on hold until we can figure out exactly what the market wants, because the administration obviously is breathing down our backs saying you can't do this. And then you've got the actual ticket goers that don't want these products that you guys keep trying to sell. That's kind of sort of basic. We've talked about Disney over at 76 Research, 76 portfolios. We do not hold it in any of our portfolios, all of which have beaten the S&P recently. But I encourage you to go and take a look. I know a lot of people are looking at the market and saying, oh my gosh. If we can help you in some way, we do have 3 portfolios. The Income Builder is one that includes a lot of those dividend stocks and a lot of those protection stocks that you may be seeking if you have a short time horizon versus, say, American Resilience, which is more focused on some of the tech plays that will really, in my estimation, pay off in a few years. So take a look at all of this there at 76 portfolios, 76portfolios.com, or you can go to 76research.com. Just use my code dollar, and you'll get the report, anyway, the 76 report for free. Forgive me, for $1. What am I saying? Oh, it's Friday. $1 a month. Anyway, I'm just looking at Netflix right now. So Netflix apparently has not learned anything from Disney. We know what happened with Snow White. We know it's at least a $115 million loss. That's not very good. Spirit-filled, thank you so much. Again, much appreciated. I'm laughing. He's saying, weird, weird, weird. You know what's not weird, though, is that America rejected this, right? And I think America is going to reject the latest and greatest out of Netflix. You see, Netflix has decided to remake a wonderful story, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. And if you guys are familiar, I used to read it when I was a kid. I thought it was so magical. And then they turned it into the Chronicles of Narnia, and it became a show. And it's a wonderful, wonderful story. It's by C.S. Lewis, who had a very strong sort of Christian conviction. And when he created these characters, one of which was Aslan, the lion, it was created to resemble Jesus Christ, which is why this is very interesting who they're picking now to play Aslan in the new wokeified Chronicles of Narnia. None other than, this lady, remember her from that big shindig with Oprah Winfrey to promote Kamala Harris some 40 some odd days right before the election? You know who I'm talking about?
Hello, President Harris.
Yeah. 47 days.
47 days, yes.
From my mouth to God's ear. And hello, Oprah.
Yeah. That's who they want to play Aslan, who's depicted as a male lion because he's supposed to be basically symbolically Jesus Christ. So way to go, Netflix. You're really going to win over more people with that. Take a look. They are in negotiations right now. Apparently, and you can add Greta Gerwig into the mix too, because this is her script. I'm telling you, Netflix really, really doesn't learn. Greta, who had a hand in Snow White. Again, this Snow White that just had this tremendous loss and was just a disaster for Disney. Yet, they had 7 writers on this thing, including Greta Gerwig. She was uncredited. So this was the debate last night because I was talking with one of the guys who works on my team. He's like, oh my gosh, it's a Greta Gerwig special again. And I'm like, no, she wasn't. I looked for this. I couldn't find her name on Snow White. And sure enough, he came up with this. She's one of the 7 writers, and she is just clearly not very talented. Not very talented. And then they're going to go wokeify a story that actually has a lot of symbolic meaning to a lot of people. And they're going to offend Christians, but this is what they do. Because, hey, think about, Cynthia Erivo. Heck, she's playing Jesus Christ in the Jesus Christ Superstar at Hollywood Bowl. I mean, this woman, wow, she's something, she might actually look like a man. I tells you. Wokeism is still alive and well.